Suga was a quiet boy, but he liked basketball and sports so much that he won basketball tournaments several times. Also, he wanted to be a cultured person, so he read novels, poems, essays, and everything, regardless of the genre. Then one day, 13-year-old Suga was shocked by a group's performance on TV and decided to be a rapper. So he started making rap and composing in 6th grade, and already in his 2nd grade of middle school, he was on stage with his friends at school festivals. However, those around him, including his relatives at the time, said, "Everyone who makes music will ruin the house. There's no way you'll succeed. You will definitely fail." And even his parents objected to him doing music, but Suga, who was enraged, decided, "I will succeed in music and show it to them no matter what." Meanwhile, Suga, who went to high school, started writing, composing, and arranging songs at his studio in Daegu. But there was no place in his neighborhood where he could learn practical music, so he had to go to a studio far away. At the time, he was making some money doing all sorts of work in the studio, but that alone wasn't enough to cover living expenses, such as food and transportation. In fact, there was a $2 jjajangmyeon restaurant right in front of the studio at the time, and there was a $1 noodle restaurant which was far away from the studio. However, if he ate $1 noodles, he could take the bus home, but if he ate $2 jjajangmyeon, he had to walk home for 2 hours, so he used to be in agony over his food choice. Later, he was introduced to work at an underground music field with the nickname Gloss in the crew D-Town. But even with the performance with his team members on the stage, they received so little money, and sometimes they weren't paid at all, and this continued. The studio, which was located in the basement at the time, was often leaking when it rained, and they didn't have money to put furniture in the studio, so they picked up a discarded mattress from the street and slept there and played music like that. Meanwhile, these memories of making music in such a difficult way made him realize one thing. He saw that some of the older members who worked with him were already in their 30s, but they had to work another part-time job, so it was still difficult to support themselves. Suga thought, I can't do that. Surviving from playing music in the underground music space is impossible. From this point, he decided that if he succeeds with music, he wants to play the role of a bridge between popular music and an underground music field.
저는 언더그라운드와 메이저의 가교가 되고 싶다고 이야기를 했어요.
뭐가 되고 싶다고?
가교. 이어주는 다리가 되고 싶다고 했는데.
And one day, Suga heard that Park Ji-hook was holding an open audition. As side information, 6 years later, August's song 724148 revealed his feelings when he left Daegu and came to Seoul. On the other hand, Suga was talented enough that he produced the song 518062 himself in his 2nd year of high school, so passing the audition was natural for him. Thus, he won 2nd place in the Big Hit First National Audition and finally entered Big Hit. When he passed the audition, he thought he was just going to work as a songwriter and producer, but Park Ji-hook had more in mind for him and tricked him into signing a different contract. In fact, he was preparing for his idol debut. Meanwhile, everything was really difficult for Suga, who was only 18 years old and came to Seoul alone from Daegu. In order to fix his Daegu dialect, he had to read the news continuously and finally fixed his dialect in 2 years. However, the $300 that his parents gave him wasn't enough to cover the food expenses in Seoul. As he continued his trainee life, not knowing when he would make his debut, things only got worse. With the company running out of money to invest in trainees, his team on the brink of dissolution, Suga also found out that his family was on the verge of financial ruin due to high college fees. In this dire situation, he did what he had to do. So he worked part-time on the side, and while making deliveries on a motorcycle, he suffered a shoulder injury in a traffic accident on a rainy road. When he came to his senses right after the accident, he realized that the tire of the car was right in front of him, and it wasn't until the next day that he realized his shoulder was dislocated, and he couldn't move it. However, he kept the incident a secret, fearing the consequences like being fired as a trainee because he worked part-time in secret and had been in a motorcycle accident. He trained hard despite his injury, which was not properly treated on time, and this made his shoulder condition progressively worse and even started to threaten his career. Meanwhile, 3 years had already passed since Suga started his training. Life as a trainee was already tough, but the mounting pressures around him made him even more anxious and nervous. The question, when the hell are you going to make your debut, was always in the air. In the song Path, which was released after his debut, he also expressed his difficulty before he debuted. One day, while practice was repeated endlessly, Suga became fed up with his trainee life, which seemed to be neglected by the company, and said to Bang Si-hyuk, "I'll quit now." Of course, he got scolded badly and was sent back to the practice room. At that time, Suga thought producer Bang Si-hyuk had randomly picked 3 members and left them alone, so he blamed him for that. But after some time passed, he realized that Bang PD gave the 3 of them enough time to do their own free music. Meanwhile, during that time, he worked so hard that he wrote verses every day, just like the phrase "one day, one verse," putting in all the emotions he felt at this time. Also, he had to keep practicing dancing because when he came to Seoul, he didn't have any dance experience. Considering he trained hard and worked too, you'd assume he slept soundly at night. But the truth was that he was so plagued by fears about the future that he couldn't sleep. However, over time, new members joined the team and eventually they made their official debut under the group name BTS.
둘, 셋, 안녕하세요, 방탄소년단입니다.
안녕하세요, 슈가입니다. 팀에서 랩을 맡고 있습니다.
No More Dream was the title song which BTS members made together along with Bang Si-hyuk. RM and Suga, who were active in underground music before, worked so hard that they repeatedly wrote and erased the lyrics of No More Dream nearly 20 times. Bang Si-hyuk PD hoped that the members' own feelings would be expressed in their music and asked them to write them down every time. So BTS made songs and lyrics, each member and everyone together. And Suga, who had started composing since he was a teenager, performed with other hip-hop crews on several occasions, and could even produce before that, was the only member of BTS who had everything under control at the beginning of their debut. Because of this, he had a lot of responsibilities at this time, and used to state before the others, "Don't think that there will be a huge response. Also, don't be discouraged even if there is no big response." And his wish really came true when BTS received the Rookie of the Year award with great attention. With receiving the Rookie Award in their debut year, the future of BTS seemed bright. However, at the time, BTS struggled for a long time with fellow rappers and reporters who sarcastically criticized them even in public, saying, "If you're an idol, you're an idol. What is a hip-hop idol?"
방탄소년단이 무대에 올라갔을 때 뭐 이제 분장을 한다든가 또 메이크업을 하는 거 이제 어떤 힙합과 충돌되는 부분이 있을 것 같은데
그냥 그런 게 아니라 여자
What? Shut the front door. Come on.
아 그래요? 여자같이 입고 다니는 게 여장이 아니에요? 근데 이제 아까 슈거님이 말씀하셨듯이 이제 되게 힘들었고 그리고 막 곡 팔고 막 그런데 10원도 못 받고 그러셨다 그러셨는데 다 그래요.
네 맞습니다.
네, 다 그런 사람들이고 다 진짜 그렇게 하고 있는데 이제 결국에는 그걸 끝까지 버티고 버티냐 이거였던 거.
제가 4년 전만 해도 저도 매일 저녁 먹을 돈이 없어서
그런 슬픈 이야기는 다 여기 다
그게 다 있죠. 그걸 바꾸고 싶었어요.
그걸 바꾸고 싶었다. 뭘로?
제가
강시영 본인이 아이돌 해가지고 그걸 바꿀 수 있다고 생각했어요?
사실 뭐 수년간 안 바뀌고 있는
저는 그냥 그런 마음이에요. 뭐냐면은 그냥 미움도 없고 아무것도 없고 뭔가 그냥 같이 같은 길을 갈 수 있었던 사람들인데 뭔가 그걸 유혹을 못 이기고 같이 뭔가
그걸 유혹이라고 말씀을 하시니까 좀 이해가 잘 안 가긴 하는데요.
RM and Suga had been active in underground hip-hop for a long time before their debut, so they were especially prejudiced and sarcastic about their activities as hip-hop idols. So of course Suga was also reluctant to become a member of an idol group in the first place. In fact, he said this when he remembered his early debut days. "Actually, after my debut as an idol, I'm still very worried. I've always had a victim mentality. I thought, I've been doing hip-hop since I was young. Now that I've become an idol, people will see me differently, won't they?" Since he was a hip-hop idol, Suga thought that the only thing that could break that prejudice towards BTS was good music. So he became more obsessed with music work. And around this time, there's an incident that shows that he was really sincere about music. It was during the year-end schedule that his appendix ruptured and he had to undergo surgery in a hurry. Afterwards, while hospitalized for appendicitis, he worked even in the hospital room and eventually completed the song Tomorrow. This song, which he had been writing since he was a trainee, was Suga's favorite song, and it also features the lyrics, "Because the dawn right before the sun rises is the darkest," which fans like. And in the second mini-album of the school series, Suga presented Jump, which he wrote with RM when he was still a trainee. And 6 months later, in their first full-length album, he produced his own song Let Me Know. Before recording, he even gave advice to the members on how to portray the feelings right while singing it. Additionally, Rain, the first song which mentions Suga's shoulder problems, also contains the memories and feelings of his trainee days. And from that point on, Suga was fully immersed in music and spent all his time in the studio, the broadcasting station, and at home. He even said that he spent 3 straight days in the small studio, which was about 35 square meters, and never left except to use the toilet. He even said that those days were pleasant and beautiful, leaving a sad impression. When I have enough time, I'm happy to be able to work all night. I feel most comfortable and happy when I work in the studio. Anyway, I don't have many friends, haha. I might have been more immersed in music because I wanted to be proud in front of my family and fans. This is the only thing I can do, and I am so happy to give joy to many people by playing music. However, he was not only immersed in producing music. In the case of the title song at the time, Danger, he practiced the choreography for 16 hours a day, so he truly was diligent in all areas. And in the Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 1, which was released 8 months later, he also presented other masterpieces. Lyrics from Moving On, a song that was written while thinking of his mother, received a lot of attention. He also performed other great songs in The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 2. It was so hard that he wanted to run away while changing the verse 20 times in 15 days in the studio. But he finally made it, and that was the song Nevermind. The song that he produced himself, Dead Leaves. However, after making a comeback with The Most Beautiful Moment in Life Part 2, his harsh sleeping schedule, which consisted of less than 3 hours of sleep a day, became a problem.
저희가 다 해내니까 회사에서 이런 무지막지한 스케줄을 시키는가 봅니다. 그거 얘기한다고 나갈 것 같아요? 그렇지. 내가 하소연 하는 거야. 진짜 요단강 발 담그고 있어요 지금. 네, 건널까 말까 지금.
저희 금요일부터 하루도 안 쉬었어요. 하루를.
시간도
3시간 이상 안 쉬었어요.
Suga and V, who had been active since then, cancelled the 2015 Japan concert due to health problems such as dizziness during rehearsals just before the concert.
本日の公演が中止になった理由についてお伝えしたいと思っております。公演の前にシュガと V 君が体調不良を訴えましてリハーサルを中断し、現在病院に移り専門医の診断を受けました。
네, 그래서 CT 촬영을 하고 이제 주변 결과로는 큰 이상이 발견되지는 않았고요. 그런데 좀 공연 중에 저희가 아무래도 퍼포먼스가 굉장히 경쾌하다 보니까 좀 어지럼증일 수 있다는 그런 진단을 또 받았고요. 그래서 혹시 추후 상태를 좀 조심스럽게 지켜봐야 하는 그런 좀 소견을 받게 되었습니다.
いつも見守ってくださり応援してくださっているファンの皆さんに改めてお詫びを申し上げるとともに最後に I Need You の日本語バージョンをお聞かせしたいと思っております。
채워주신 많은 분들께 다시 한번 진심으로 감사의 말씀드립니다.
今日このように来てくださった皆様に今一度心から感謝いたします。
Suga remembered hurting fans by not being able to stand on stage due to appendicitis before, so he said that he had to go on stage no matter what. But everyone around him, including the medical staff, stopped him. In the end, in front of countless fans who gathered to see BTS, he was so angry and felt so sorry that the concert was cancelled because of him. But even after this day, he said that he had no memory of getting good sleep because he felt guilty for hurting so many people and that he would even wake up from his sleep in cold sweat. However, his actions that followed left a deep impression on fans. In January of 2016, when all the BTS members were given a vacation, he went alone to Kobe in Japan, where the concert was scheduled. After visiting Kobe's concert hall out of remorse and regret for not being able to perform due to his sickness, he once again left a long post on Twitter which touched many fans, especially Japanese fans. Meanwhile, in an interview with a media outlet when asked if he cried recently, he replied, "When I came to Seoul, I couldn't really see my family, and even though my parents came to Seoul specifically to see me, I was so busy that I could only talk to them for 3 minutes, and then I cried because it was so sad." And the year after this interview, he found his parents on the last day of the most beautiful moment in life concert on May 8th, Parents' Day, and bowed down and shed a lot of tears. Meanwhile, he says this at the end of their hugely loved album series. "I think if there's a beginning, there's an end. I personally think that this album series is the best album of my life. But if water is stuck in one place, the water is bound to rot. So I will come back with better music." And Suga, as he promised, shocked the public with his incredible music afterwards, and that was August D. Suga started music at an early age, so he went through a lot of difficulties compared to his peers, but he usually didn't express his feelings well. However, he always wished that through singing, people would realize the difficulties he experienced in his past and about the human Yoongi behind BTS. He was neither Suga nor Yoongi, but August D, the name he used while showing his dark past and not hiding anything. He had never even mentioned a single mental problem or the shoulder accident in the past, so right after the release of the album, the impact on fans was tremendous. 140503 at Dawn, a song about his social phobia and his past history. A song with sad lyrics, So Far Away. Last, a song showing his darkest inner side and at the same time captures the most difficult days of his life. Due to the unique sentiment in Korea at the time about being a closed person, it was never easy for an idol to show his mental problems or his pain. But maybe because he felt that he couldn't speak freely about his past because it may have made a heavy burden. After August D, people around him, including producer Bang Si-hyuk, said, Suga's personality has become very bright. Even Suga himself said, "One of the best things I did in 2016 was the release of August D's mixtape, and he was so satisfied with it." When people around him were worried that his mixtape was too strong, he answered like this, "I've been through so much since I was young, but I don't express those things very well. I always wanted someone to know that, and it seems to be solved with music. I think music is an excretion. That's why I made August D without hiding, and as a result, I feel at ease." Of course, fans loved this mixtape. Fans loved him even more when they learned that Suga, who only appears on screen, is by no means a special being different from us, but rather just a normal human suffering pains, fears, and problems like everyone else. On the second studio album Wings, he participated in writing and composing many songs, but his solo song First Love was especially loved. When he recorded the song, tears burst out in the second half, but he was able to finish recording while crying really loudly. In addition, in this song, his hard past appeared once again, making fans who couldn't get out of the shock of the last mixtape shed tears again. And BTS, who was really loved for Fire, received the grand prize for the first time at the 2016 Melon Music Award. Before their debut, Suga and RM were at home watching the year-end awards ceremony one day and cried out, "When can we get the grand prize?" And eventually, they won the first grand prize that day. and less than 2 weeks later, BTS received another grand prize at the Mama Awards. He went on stage without much thought, but after receiving the award, Suga, who always held up a stronger image for his younger siblings, shrugged and shed the most tears after winning the award, perhaps because he remembered his hard days. A few months later, in a broadcast, Suga said, "I want to get on the Billboard," and actually a month later, his wish really came true.
And the Billboard Music Award goes to BTS!
BTS became the first K-pop group to receive the Billboard Top Social Artist Award. Of course, it was great to receive the grand prize on such a big stage for the first time, and to receive the Billboard Award after their debut, but unfortunately, the pressure he felt also started to mount. In fact, during the Wings tour, Suga said, "So many titles such as the first time in the K-pop history, everything is good, but it's so burdensome and a little bit scary." But to wait was even harder for him. One day, they got told that they would be the first K-pop group to perform at the American Music Awards, one of the top 3 awards ceremonies in the United States. You would think that this was something to celebrate, but not for Suga. Due to the nature of the idol industry, where idols do not have a long lifespan in the field, he thought that his life as a singer would gradually end after winning first place on a music show and holding a few solo concerts. And when things he could never have imagined continued to happen, he became even more scared of that situation. If there was a senior who had this experience first, he would have asked, but he couldn't even ask because no one had walked the path that BTS had walked. The weight of being famous was so heavy that he said, "The day I made our US debut through the AMAs was the most nerve-wracking experience, and yet that day held a lot of meaning for him." In this way, BTS successfully completed their US TV debut stage by presenting the title song DNA off their new album at the 2017 AMAs. The fact that BTS was the first Korean group to be on the stage, and that they performed a song composed entirely of Korean, not English lyrics at the AMAs, was such a great achievement, but with it, Suga's burden increased too. Immediately after finishing the AMA stage performance, he returned to his hotel room and cried in the shower. He wasn't crying out of a "wow, I finally did it" feeling, but rather shedding tears because he was scared of what was coming next. He had achieved more than he had ever dreamed of, the Billboard, the AMAs, etc. But when most stars peak, they fall to their lowest. So as he showered, he thought, "What am I going to do now?" which was incredibly hard on him. Recalling that time, he said this, "I cried in the hotel that day. I felt like this is not what I wanted, because I didn't want to be in such a burdensome situation. It's such an honor and I'm so grateful, but on the other hand I also thought, is this right? Is this really what we've been hoping for?" As a singer, he just did his job diligently, but when articles that read things like "the Patriots who contributed to South Korea, BTS," appeared, he started to think, the next album should be better, the next one should be better. And after struggling with that pressure, he would even think, why did I start music? Which drove him into a deep crisis. Furthermore, on the last day of the Wings tour final, which had been going on for 10 months, was Suga feeling pressure or was it appreciation to the fans? Well, as the members spoke one by one, the other members shed tears, but Suga cried the most.
저도 이제 더 울 일은 이제 없을 거라고 생각했는데 뭔가 약간 좀 진짜 이 파이널 콘의 진짜 마지막이 되니까 뭔가 감정이 좀 달라지네요. 그러니까 저희 방탄소년단이 참 이 억압과 편견을 막아내고 우리 음악을 들려주겠다고 시작을 했는데 이제서야 5년이 지난 지금에서야 이제 그런 이제 감사합니다. 네, 5년이 지난 지금 이제 저희들의 무대와 이제 음악들을 이제 많은 사람들한테 들려줄 수 있는 것 같아가지고요. 너무너무 감사하고 그 모든 것들이 다 저희 팬 여러분들 덕분이라고 생각을 해요. 너무너무 감사드리고 네 앞으로는 진짜 이제 웃는 날만 있었으면 좋겠는데 너무 기쁜데도 눈물이 나네요. 정말 너무너무 감사드리고 다시 한번 저희 팬 여러분들한테 감사하고 사랑한다는 말씀 전해드리고 싶습니다. 감사합니다. 사랑합니다.
Despite Suga's aforementioned wish, I hope there will only be days to smile in the future. The members seriously considered the disbandment of the group, possibly due to the increased stress and pressure that the BTS members were under.
되게 올해 초가 생각이 나는데요. 올해 초에 저희가 되게 심적으로 많이 힘들었었어요. 그래서 저희끼리 얘기를 하면서 해체를 할까 말까 고민도 했고.
And Suga, who previously said in his song, "Have a dream every time," now sent a slightly different message than before, perhaps due to the changes and hard times he's been through.
하시는 거 다 잘 되고 꿈 모두 이루시고 꿈이 없으신 분들도 괜찮습니다. 뭐 꿈 없을 수도 있어요. 행복하시면 됩니다. 행복하게 새해를 시작하면서 행복하게 한 해 또 마무리 짓는 그런 2018년이 되었으면 좋겠습니다.
During this time, Suga made a song from the sentence, "You may not have any dreams, just be happy," and this was the song from the third full-length album Paradise. Regarding the song, he said, "The world induces infinite competition, even though it has never taught us how to dream. Paradise is a song I made thinking of those who are exhausted from infinite competition." The third studio album, which included this song, was ranked #1 on the Billboard 200 for the first time since its release. And in an interview at that time, Suga carefully answered the question, "What's your next goal?" And the other BTS members seemed very surprised to hear his response.
So what's the next step for BTS?
Next step.
Yeah, the next step.
Next step.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe Grammy.
There you go. All right.
Okay.
No, see, you say that now, but watch. This
Really
time next
sad
year we'll be like, so the Grammys. Yeah.
We'll see. Grammy is like a whole nother world. So, okay, like I think he said it first time. It's like, so, yeah, he's not joking, baby.
Before, they were just joking around, never imagining what would happen. Later, though, as Suga said, they would be nominated for a Grammy Award 3 times. After BTS reached the top of the world, the members struggled for a long time. In the midst of this incredibly successful period, they had deep doubts and were very skeptical about the marketing of BTS. In an interview ahead of the release for their third album, before hitting #1 on the Billboard 200, Suga said the following about the interest and expectations they were met with. "Looks like I'm flying too high. I see too much, see too far. I thought I would always be happy above the clouds, but when I look down, I get scared sometimes." He used to struggle with similar concerns, but after this interview, BTS became the first Koreans to top the Billboard 200, and the pressure increased with that as well. A little later, in the BTS dinner party video, Suga expressed his feelings as follows.
나 항상 그게 되게 불안했었거든. 되게 내가 지금 이렇게 잘 되고 있는데 이게 내가 가지고 있는 걸 잃어버리면 이걸 놓쳐버리면 인생 끝나는 거죠. 그러니까 그런 거에 대해서 너무 그런 거에 대해서 너무 심했었어가지고. 그러니까 되게 나는 그거에 대해서 되게 무섭던 것 같아. 그러니까 내가 이렇게 내가 가지고 있고 내가 이렇게 지금 잘 되고 있는 게 없어지면 사그라들면 나라는 존재는 도대체 뭘 위해서 사는가라는 걸 생각했던 것 같은데.
Of course, everyone had a hard time thinking, do we really have to disband the group? But among the members, Suga's fear was greater in a different sense.
내가 잘하고 있는지 점수를 매겨본다면 몇 점인 거예요? 나는 이제 사람 성향이 나는 되게 나를 낮게 생각을 하고 있어가지고 그래 내가 이만큼 해볼게 내가 이만큼 해볼게 하면서 이렇게 살아왔었어.
He'd been asking himself this question for a long time. What would I be able to do if I was alone when I'm not working for BTS? And every time he thought, there was so little I could do without the other members. He was deeply concerned about being left alone, and sometimes when he was by himself, the fear came over him very strongly. And the emotional chaos that weighed on him, the fear he had to deal with, were reflected in the song Tear. Tear is actually known to the public as a song reflecting the feelings of a person in a relationship who has broken up, but it was actually a song written by Suga that reflected on the times where he had worries about the group's supposed disbandment, afraid of being left alone. At the beginning of the production, when everyone listened to the song together, they all shed many tears. Below are some of Suga's rap lyrics from the song Tear. This is the real you and this is the real me. Now that I've seen the ending, I no longer hold grudges. I woke up from a sweet dream and I closed my eyes. We know what to say. The answer is already there, but it's always difficult to choose that answer. Fortunately, however, the BTS members were able to get through this difficult time and even come out of it stronger because they spoke openly about the concerns of each member without hesitation, always respecting each other's thoughts. Meanwhile, through the repackaged album of Love Yourself, Suga presented Seesaw, a song about a breakup. And after that, BTS started their Love Yourself concert tour around the world. Because of his experience as a trainee, Suga tended to have a fear of crowded places even up to this point. Strangely though, he didn't feel this fear as much in the concert hall, and he was really happy there. BTS embarked on a 10-month tour in which they only slept for a few hours while still performing at full capacity and traveling all the time. When they were on tour in the US, BTS's influence had grown to such an extent that the American morning news reported their schedule, so Suga later said this in a broadcast. It is also a lot of pressure. I take it to a certain extent, but I start to feel the pressure and burden that I have to be a morally perfect person as well as flawless. Endless tours later, Suga continued to work on songs in his hotel room. Given that Suga had been making music for such a long time, you'd think he'd get tired of it, but he wasn't, and music remained his greatest joy. I started music because I liked it, but in a way it's become a love-hate relationship. Sometimes I don't like this job, but then I like it so much that I can't seem to live without it. If I think about living without performing or music, I would get bored quickly. But aside from his words, my life is music, there was still a void that music couldn't fill, and that was the loneliness and emptiness he felt. If we look at BTS, the most famous group in the world, and focus on Suga, most people think, oh, he has a perfect life that leaves nothing to be desired. But just as everyone wants what they can't have, he too has things to envy others for. For most of us, it's normal to travel, eat outside, and go to the movies with family or friends, and we take it for granted. But for him, these things are still very special. However, unfortunately, unlike other BTS members, Suga wasn't lucky enough to have truly close friends, so he envied others for their normal lives.
그러니까 얻은 만큼 잃는 거죠. 잃은 만큼 얻는 거. 평범함을 잃었죠. 일단 가장 큰 거는. 그 말은 남들한테 평범한 건 저한테 되게 특별한 거고 남들에게 특별한 건 저한테 되게 평범한 거예요. 그러면 어느 순간 뭐랄까 가치가 되게 달라져요. 가치관이 그러니까 세상을 바라보는 가치관들이 평범한 것들이 특별해져 보이기 시작을 한다는 거죠.
Their fourth studio album came out soon after 10 months of intense touring, but suddenly BTS faced a completely unimaginable situation: COVID. At that time, all artists faced an unprecedented situation, yet BTS showed their best side. Suga continued to show outstanding songwriting qualities in the fourth album, and the solo song Interlude Shadow reflected the pressure and fear they all felt after their success, and this earned him a lot of love. After the release of their fourth regular album, a big tour was planned, with all preparations completed, but due to the worldwide pandemic, everything had to be cancelled. This was very frustrating for all members, but Suga found refuge in music again. Still during the COVID-19 era, Suga, who spent most of his time in the studio, presented his second mixtape D2 in just 4 years under the name August D. After listening to the 10 finished songs, the company dismissed the album, saying it had too many swear words, but PD Bang Si-hyuk offered him words of encouragement. If you want, you can do it. So Suga revised the songs again, and finally he could publish it. Also on the D2 album, Suga clearly wanted fans to think, Suga makes music, putting a lot of thought and effort into it, openly showing his train of thought just like before. What was really decisive, however, was the previously unknown loss of his best friend, who was a drug addict and only became known through this album. And with Daechwita, he became the first Korean solo artist to enter the Billboard Hot 100 and Billboard 200 simultaneously and reach 100 million YouTube views in 1 month. What do you think? A song aimed squarely at the press at a time when they were constantly publishing articles about BTS. Moonlight, Untold, and People are songs that contain what Yoongi wanted to say as a human being, not as Suga from BTS. And of course, Dear My Friend, the song that broke many people's heart. Suga, who is well known for not having any friends, expressed every moment he went through in his music. And Dear My Friend tells many stories, such as his best friend who went to prison for drugs and was released in the middle of a snowy winter. Suga soon lost his only friend because he tried to drag him into his drug use. This song shocked the public and made them wonder, is Suga really that honest? And later, while talking about the behind the scenes of D2 through V-Live, when he listened to Dear My Friend with fans, a fan said, "This song is so sad," and he left a short message. When a fan later heard Suga's statement, "I'm not sad," she left a comment, "I think the reason he's not sad anymore is because he's been crying so much that he can't be sad anymore. He cried so much that he had no more feelings. Suga, please just be happy." And this drew a lot of attention from the people. Meanwhile, with Dynamite, a song released after August D's second album, BTS reached #1 on the Billboard 100 for the first time. Of course, it was great to win first place on the Billboard chart, but his anxiety grew.
내가 원치 않은 걸 잃었을 때도 불안했었어. 내가 간절히 바랬던 투어가 취소되는 거 보면서도 불안했어. 다이너마이트가 터지는 거 보면서도 불안했어.
And suddenly, Big Hit made an official announcement that Suga will have shoulder surgery. His shoulder was in really bad shape at the time. During the overseas tour, he endured pain injections in each city he moved to, but the choreography for their new album, including the songs Black Swan and On, were so intense that he couldn't use his arms after the choreography anymore. Even the day after he accidentally slept on his left side, his left arm was so damaged that he couldn't use it at all. However, there was another decisive reason for the shoulder injury, which had been a problem for 8 years. While filming a commercial for beverage, there was a scene where he was holding a 500ml plastic bottle with his left hand, but his shoulder was so sore that he couldn't even hold that one bottle. So at that time, he pondered, can I continue to live with this? And decided to get surgery. Suga, who needed absolute stability after the surgery, couldn't participate in broadcasting activities after the release of the B album, but he made many people happy with a good song. Telepathy conveys the meaning of being the happiest when BTS meets armies. Since then, BTS has achieved its third and fourth Billboard 100 #1 achievements with Life Goes On and Butter. At the same time that the members' military enlistment approached, Suga started to prepare for his solo career. Also, he participated in writing, composing, and producing Psy's That That. As he participated in the That That's choreography for their fans, he didn't show any sign of pain, stating, "I filmed the music video purely for the armies who are watching," even though his shoulder was still not fully recovered after the surgery. BTS was at its peak of popularity and influence, topping the Billboard 4 times with Dynamite, Permission to Dance, Life Goes On, and Butter. They even met up with President Joe Biden at the White House. But suddenly, they declared the temporary suspension of BTS. All the members had a hard time for their own reasons. But in Suga's case, he had been working on songs for 8 years since his debut in 2013, so he said, "Really, I have nothing more to say." In order to be able to be active for a longer period of time, it was obviously necessary that each of them got their time out. But it was difficult to express their position because they felt so sorry for the armies. However, numerous articles written by Korean media afterwards made it even more difficult. Later in a broadcast, Suga stated this about the articles. After our last announcement of the temporary suspension of activities, articles such as BTS activities suspended in tears, and even rumors of a disbandment began to appear one by one, so I was a little scared. But it's not like that. We're really just taking a short break, and the fear came because people seemed to be advising us to take a rest forever. However, at a time when everyone was feeling sorry with those incidents, something even worse happened to Suga. As BTS's military enlistment approached, a verse from August's D2 album, What Do You Think, got a lot of attention in Korea. Although BTS had long stated that they would enlist in the military, the media and lawmakers regarding their military enlistment made the issue of BTS's military enlistment or exemption the biggest social issue in Korea at that time. The phrase, which includes swear words in the song, was put on the screen, and there was even a debate among lawmakers saying, "Why do you keep mentioning BTS's military exemption even though BTS Suga says he is going to the army himself?" Also, the lyrics, which contain swear words written by Suga, appeared on the main screen of Korean news almost every day at that time. Of course, with the arguments of these legislators, his song lyrics containing profanity, and the news articles circulating daily, the public was particularly interested in Suga's military affairs and began to ponder his next move. And after that, an article appeared stating that Suga was working as a social worker rather than an active duty soldier due to a shoulder injury, so the media and the public began to criticize him. In fact, before BTS debuted, the song Adult Child, which he helped compose and rapped in, included the lyrics, "The reality is a healthy first-class target for active duty. Why am I just unnecessarily healthy?" These lyrics began to resurface and were seen as problematic. To explain further, in Korea, every man must undergo a physical exam before being drafted into the military. If you receive a first-class result on the physical exam, it means you have no physical problems and enlist as an active duty military conscript. And if you get a grade 4 or lower, it's difficult to serve on active duty, so military service will replace you as a community service staffer. However, Suga received a grade 4 in the physical examination after his previous shoulder surgery, and it was decided that he would serve in the social service personnel. When Suga was 20 years old, he received a first-class score on the fitness examination. But after his shoulder operation, he had to repeat this examination, which resulted in a grade 4, which is why he was only suitable for social service. This is why the situation blew up in Korea, as many people didn't know about the injury and thought Suga was just taking advantage of his celebrity status. Only a handful of BTS fans knew about his injury and his physical issues that occurred after, such as when he couldn't even hold the 500ml bottle properly because he hadn't been properly rehabilitated and treated for 9 years. Despite knowing all the context, the behavior of the Korean media at the time, which incited the public with provocative titles, was really disrespectful. Some of the public who criticized Suga said, "Does it make sense that a previously healthy body just so happened to suddenly deteriorate right before he goes into the army?" Basically, social service personnel is just another form of military service, so it shouldn't matter. However, even though some of them were aware of this, they just wanted to include a successful BTS member in their negative headlines. Jin, as the eldest brother, also enlisted first, and over time, the issues surrounding Suga's shoulder became public knowledge, and criticism fell silent. After Jin's enlistment in the military, as all the members started solo activities, Suga also started preparing for his solo activities in earnest. He announced the start of his first solo world tour among BTS members, and released August's third album D-Day in 3 years. August's previous albums focused a lot on the past, but this D-Day album shows that he is finally moving on from the past and focusing on the present. The album was named D-Day with the meaning, I will no longer struggle with the past that I can't fix and the future that I can't predict. And from now on, let's live only in the present, and that day is today. However, when BTS announced the temporary suspension of their activities, Suga said, there's nothing more to say now. So the preparation process for the D-Day album was particularly difficult. Producer Bang Si-hyuk even asked Suga, who is obsessively making music, you're incredibly successful now, but when you're feeling miserable about making music now, then what the hell are you working for? Days after days of just making music and torturing himself finally got him into a crisis. In particular, in the case of the title song Haegum, it was a song that he had already made 3 years ago at the time of Daechwita, but the finishing process was very difficult. The album release date was getting closer, and when nothing worked out, he was so desperate that he went alone to the mountains to work. And in the end, Suga finished the album and returned to Seoul. But for some reason, listening to the songs in Seoul again did change his perspective. It was so awful for him, so he gave up on it and delayed the release date. He completely retired from making music for a period of time, and was even hospitalized receiving IVs for a fast recovery. Maybe it was because he was on a break, but all his senses were awake and fresh now, so when he listened to the previously discarded records again, he felt they were very good. That's how he decided to release the D-Day album with the thought, now I really have to let go of these things I've been holding on to for 3 years. In keeping with the title track Haegum, it has 2 meanings, an instrument name and to liberate from forbidden things, and contains the thought, let me liberate from the things forbidden by society. After the release of this song, he didn't listen to it himself, because by the time it was released, he had listened to it more than 10,000 times. However, there's one song he still enjoys listening to, and that's People from his latest album D2. And the song he made with those similar feelings was People Part 2. Amygdala, a song for people who have suffered until now due to a trauma of the past, and for those still living in the past. Suga wrote the song Snooze to bring comfort to those who are struggling in all sorts of ways, including his juniors who are now working in the music industry and people who are facing personal challenges just like himself. With the song, Suga wanted to convey the message, everything is fine and everything will be okay. Maybe the message of the album was, let's focus on the present, not the future or the past. Because after the release of D-Day, he said, I think I'm really growing up now that my earlier anger and confusion has gone and calmed down. In 2017, he once said, there are times when making good music isn't always easy. It's difficult, tiring, and even lonely. But the songs that are created like this make people happier. That's why it's stressful. And 6 years later, in 2023, he answered a question about the driving force behind making music non-stop with, I have seen many reactions from fans, such as I was able to survive the most difficult days of my life thanks to BTS's music. However, if I continue to present new music, there are many people who still gain strength and change their lives out of it. That's why 99% of my reason to make music is for the armies who listen to it. Sentences like that show how precious armies are to him, and it's clear that his affection for the other members is extraordinary. When people who don't know Suga very well see him, they may feel a sense of distance due to his cold appearance. In fact, he said right at the beginning of his debut that he likes to be alone, and he often uses the lyrics, I don't give a shit in his songs, and he often showed that he doesn't care what other people's views are. However, the same person who always says that he always enjoys being alone seems to actually want love and attention more than anyone else. Anyone who has followed the person Min Yoongi for a long time knows this very well. What a loving and humane person he is at BTS. His warmth can often be seen by watching the BTS members' self-produced shows. In the Forest, he said, I don't really like fishing, but Jin likes to fish with me, so I'm happy to see him happy. When J-Hope and Jimin started playing a game, he was the one who closed the book he was reading and came down to make snacks for them. And when the members gathered together to drink, he went into the kitchen alone to prepare food for them. and actually, he was the one who cooked the most every time they traveled. Even when RM asked him, "Do you have a dream you want to achieve as a human Min Yoongi?" he cherished the members most and said, "No matter how much time will pass, until we become grandfathers, my dream is to be with the 7 members." Also, Suga once said this, "I don't know how to comfort others when they cry. I'm not used to being comforted because I always cried alone. If I have a tough time, it's okay to struggle and cry alone because I'm used to it. But seeing the members around me having a hard time is several times harder." Like this, he cares for the armies and other members more than anyone else in his heart, but Suga is not able to express it well. But wouldn't he desperately want someone to know his real heart? In a previous fan meeting, a fan handed Suga a paper with the title How to Handle Suga, and Suga himself wrote these instructions. "Please be nice to me, please love me, please adore me." I hope that Suga, who looks cold on the outside, but has a warm soul more than anyone else, will no longer shed tears and have to suffer alone. And I'm ending this video with the hope that you will be nice to, love, and adore the person Min Yoongi more than anyone else.